Okay, we are live,
Yes.
and so pay no mind. We're just going to wait for Michael to get here. We'll give him another minute or so. But we got Gil here, got
Mm-hmm.
Amelia Pitbull Chapman,
Yes.
and the Mad Dog, and that means only one thing, folks. It's showtime.
All
Gil,
right.
you're going to like this, baby. Check this out.
Lost sound. I've lost audio.
It's Thursday night, and Amelia Pitbull Chapman, that means only one thing.
What's the buzz time?
It's 4 p.m. in Los Angeles. It's 6 o'clock in Chicago. And it's 7 p.m. here in New York City. Hello, everybody. I'm Mad Dog DeCipio. Joining me tonight, as she does each and every week, I try to get rid of her, but she keeps coming back. Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman. How you doing, kid?
I'm doing okay. A little bit better now, but it was a little
Good.
bit long of a day.
Long day for you. It sure is. We have a fun show tonight. If you've been following our shows, we needed a fun show tonight.
Yeah, we did.
Because we've been getting pretty heavy with some of our topics. And I say, you know what? We're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to
Yes.
talk about what it's like to be a celebrity lookalike. Now, I got two of the best in the business tonight. I'm joined by one. We're waiting for another to join us. Here he is as we speak. Joining us as we speak.
Yes.
Michael. Call me Gene Simmons Santo. How are you, my brother?
Oh, welcome to the show.
And let me introduce your partner in crime over here. A man looking very, very dashingly like Paul Stanley. This is Gil Garcia. Call him Star Child from
Welcome
Arizona.
to the show.
Absolutely. You guys are remarkable. I have to tell you, I've seen, as Michael, we were talking to Gil off air. I've seen every member of KISS and had the opportunity to meet every member of KISS, the original crew, Peter, Ace, Gene, and Paul. And I've been up close and personal. I've been right in Gene's face and Paul's face. I know what they look like. Intimately well. You guys you'd be very hard pressed to find somebody who says, you know, you don't look like Gene or you don't look like Paul. I want to tell you something, brother. You guys are scary. You're like freaky fucking scary, okay? So I want to go because and in fairness, we're going to do this. It's kind of a crazy night tonight. I wanted to do some fun tonight. I met Michael Santo about a month ago on Facebook. And Michael, you and I met over a comment I made. I said, I said something like I was, being a fanboy. I said, bro, you look a lot like Gene. It's fucking scary how much you look like him. And we started, believe it or not, talking about wrestling. Because that is that's the world I come from, pro wrestling. I've done two things in my life, guys, in case you don't know it. I'll fill you now. I've done two things in my entire life, wrestling and music. I was a recording engineer. And I have recorded some of the biggest bands in the country. Including, by the way, it was funny seeing my old friend Sebastian Bach hanging out with Gil, thinking that he was Paul. we're gonna see that clip tonight. But I said to Michael, we were talking about wrestling, and we just found out that we had, some things in common. So let me just get right to you, Michael. I'm going to ask you, first of all, thanks for being here. And Gil, you too, thanks for being here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, Michael, you clearly looked like Gene your whole life. I've saw pictures of you when you were younger. I know it's a scary thought, bro. But when did you realize that you could like legit capitalize and make some money doing this?
I think it was when I was 13 years old.
Right.
I dressed up as Gene for Halloween, and friends were just totally freaked out. So I've been a Kiss fan since '74.
Wow.
And I am from Brooklyn, New York.
I knew there's a reason I liked you. Absolutely, man. I'll tell you what. If you understand Kissology, New York is the bedrock of Kiss. That's where everything happened. It was New York, born and bred. So that's you got that the inbreeding of the attitude, of the street smarts. The music. So you started. I'm guessing. I'm older than both of you guys. It's fucking scary, but I am. But you started out probably like a lot of people as a fan, right? Part of
Yeah.
the Kiss Army, right? And
Right.
at what point did you realize that you maybe had a little bit of talent where you could maybe play a bit? But you do play.
Yeah, I started playing bass at 12 years old.
Did you really? Okay.
So I'm 58.
Okay. You're still
So-
younger than me, babe.
So I've been playing for a number of years. I got into bodybuilding actually, and I left the rock scene for a while.
Right.
But when I returned, see, I was bald. So when I let my hair grow, my son told me, he says, "Hey, Dad, you kind of resemble the guy from Kiss, Gene Simmons." So I started letting the hair grow. So that's when it all started with the eyes, the people
Yeah.
looking and freaking out, and I had one guy where I used to live at next door. He's like, he went to work and he told his neighbors that Gene lived next to him.
Oh Jesus.
Oh my.
I ran into it. I have a lot of funny stories. At one time, I was over. I went to see my sister, one of my sisters,
Right.
and the neighbor next door noticed that my sister wasn't home. So when my sister got home, she says, "I didn't know you knew the guy from Kiss." She's like, "What are you talking about?" I says, "Oh, Gene Simmons was knocking at your door." She says, "That's not Gene, that's my brother." So, it's quite a few stories like that, even at the store, but it's fun.
Sure.
We do it to make people happy and have some fun,
Yeah. And how about you, Gil? Where did it start for you, brother?
Same thing. I mean, really way back in the day. I grew up a Kiss fan. So as a little kid, I was a Kiss fan. And I remember, seeing the guys in makeup, the full costumes, and not knowing about them. And a friend of mine told me that they're Kiss. There's Love, there's Kitty, there's Space, and there's Evil. So for the longest time, I thought that was their names. And Gene, Peter, Paul, and Ace. And
Right.
over time, I found that out.
Yeah. There has been some debate over the years as to what the acronym KISS actually stands for. Many years ago, we heard that it stood for something like Knights in Satan's Service. You guys heard that one?
Sure.
Definitely.
So what does KISS actually stand for? Let's clear the record for everybody. You're laughing, Michael.
I'm gonna get an opinion. My opinion is it just means kiss. I don't see anything more to it other than a cool name that grabs a hold of you and you remember it, and it's easy.
It's interesting that you answer that way because that's what Paul said. That's what Paul said. He said it was an easy name. It just came up, KISS. So now, Michael, you had that evil chuckle, brother. what was that about?
Well, Kiss to me is just a rock and roll band.
Exactly.
Something to first of all to make money of, to make people happy, to enjoy music. Hard rock and roll.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the kids in Satan's service or anything like that. I think it's just about having a good time.
I should point out to everybody, Michael and Gil, that the acronym Knights in Satan's Service or Kids in Satan's Service, as Michael said, that started from the conservative Christian movement. So we need to consider what we're dealing with and where it came from. So I just want to be clear on that. Amelia, you're a music fan. You like these guys. You listen to them. So let's talk about.
Yes.
I'm gonna throw it to you, and let's talk a little bit about these two scary-looking guys that look remarkably like Gene and Paul.
I don't think they're scary at all. I think they're just the nicest guys ever anyone want to meet. Basically, what's your favorite KISS song that you would like to perform? That you first liked to perform?
God of Thunder, Detroit, Rock City.
There you go. Yep.
I'm actually a big.
I'll tell you what. Let me follow up on what Amelia asked. Gil, what's your go-to album?
Go-to album is probably always going to be the first one because that's the one that kicked it off, and it's got some classics on there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I love the first one, but I got a soft spot in my heart for Psycho Circus. I like that album. I like it a lot because it was, as you guys know, because you're like, mega stars in the KISS army here. Psycho Circus was a bit of a departure musically for KISS. And a lot of people said, well, the KISS army will never buy this, right? But they went out and they bought it in droves.
Sure.
And they made Psycho Circus a, quadruple platinum album. It went gold and silver and platinum and like off the freaking chart. They're still spending money from that album. But Michael, what's your go-to album? The first one, you think?
The first one. It's always been the first one with me. I love them more, but the first one.
What song on that album was your I call it the addiction song, the one that like got you hooked? It was like the drug
that you're gonna play over and over.
Yeah, which one was that?
Actually, it was the whole album.
Really?
I don't. First of all, I don't have any favorites.
Okay.
I enjoy all of them. I listen to all of them. I practice all of them. Unlike other KISS fans who dislike certain albums.
Yeah.
But as a down-to-earth KISS fan, I enjoy all of them.
Oh, yes.
Great.
Yeah, you're going to love every single album if you're a down-to-earth KISS fan. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Amelia, I interrupted you. Go ahead. You got it.
No, also, especially like you were saying, down-to-earth KISS fan, you're going to love every single album, every single song. And especially, which one was the one you guys get the most requested to play?
Well, let me point out, and that's a great question, but I want to point out something with regard to Gil, because Gil is
I love his accent,
is
by the
a
way.
yeah. Gil
No,
is a professional lookalike, but you're not a musician, correct?
I'm not a musician per se.
Mhm.
Back in the day, I did vocals for a couple of bands. That was
Okay.
my focus, was doing vocals and
Oh, so
writing.
you're a singer.
Mhm.
Yeah, I used to
Oh,
be
okay.
until
Okay.
I retired and settled down.
There you go. And so do you play a little guitar or
I play badly.
oh,
I just don't have patience for it. My play
right?
style is more like Paul's style at the end when he smashes the guitar. That's probably fits me a little
That's
bit.
you. Okay, there
Yep.
you go. Oh man, that's great. Now, how about you, Michael? Um, you perform, you actually play, and we're going to see you play tonight.
Mhm.
When you started, you said you were 12. When you started, did you know at that young age that this was going to be a lifetime commitment?
Oh, most definitely. I've even dreamt it.
Wow, really?
I've
Talk to me
even
about
dreamt
that.
it. I've even dreamt it, and I mean, I've had dreams of playing. As a Kiss impersonator.
Wow, that's
As long
amazing,
as you dream of me, we're all good.
right? I have to tell you, we're talking, Gil and I were talking before the show started, and there's, Gene Simmons is never one, he's never shy about, saying what's on his mind. I want you to listen to this. This is something that Gene said. This is a quote, a direct quote from Gene Simmons. We demand that Kiss tribute bands and Kiss lookalikes send us a thank you letter, unquote. Do you think you owe Gene a thank you letter?
Most definitely. I've had a while back an email from Gene.
Oh,
So
okay.
I totally blew his mind. He enjoyed it.
Right.
And I also thanked him. I mean,
Yeah,
what else can you say?
sure. Well, I mean, here's a guy who, you were lucky enough to be born with his face. It's crazy. Now, the interesting thing is, I want to go to Gil on this. You are a dead ringer for Paul Stanley. Here's the interesting thing about Paul. He's got a very, very unique look. There's not a lot of people who look like Paul, but you're the guy, and that perhaps cemented you as being. And I want to get this right because I wrote this down here. Here you go. The number one star child lookalike in the country, as seen on TV, on radio, the internet, the web, and print. I want to tell everybody that both I'm sorry, Gene, both Michael and Gil. I was going to say Gene and Paul. Both Michael and Gil are both available for private events, for corporate events. I know that Gil you do the birthday parties, anniversaries, grand openings, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
As does Michael. You also do conventions, signings, photo ops, that whole bit. So talk to me a little bit about the remarkable resemblance you have to Paul. As I said, Paul's got a really unique look. There's not a lot of people that look like him, but you've got and you look spot on. And I want people to take a really good look at you. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor and just pull your glasses off for just a second. I want people to look at you.
I feel like I'm taking off my makeup.
Right?
Wow.
That's Gil Garcia with
Wow.
no makeup and just removed his glasses, and that's all. That's Gil's. That's all him.
All me.
This man has had no plastic surgery. He's had no, nip and tuck. That's his face. And you're looking at Michael Santo. Again, I was going to call him Michael Simmons. But actually, you do call yourself Michael Simmons Santo, right?
Zimmons.
Zimmons. With a Z. Right.
With the Z.
But you have the same issue. I mean, you take your glasses off and you look like Gene. And people don't realize that, I'm going to show people something. I want them to take a look at this. This is we do a lot of video on this show because we have, an audience that likes to watch, but the radio audience likes to listen. But I'm going to describe this to them after this. Check this out.
Dad, how are you? Dad is home. Oh, Lord.
Oh, wow.
This is my friend Sebastian Bach hanging out with Gil Garcia.
Here we are with Paul Stanley of Kiss.
If you couldn't hear, what he said was, I didn't know Paul Stanley was coming soon. And we were talking about this, Gil, before the show started. This was a layover from the Kiss cruise, correct?
Correct.
And so you're out there, like basically hanging out, and people just start coming up to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because they think you're Paul. Is that the deal?
That's pretty much it. Yeah, they all came up to me. As I was walking from store to store, people would come out and they'd want pictures. And
yeah,
did
you tell them that you weren't Paul?
My policy, very simply, is if you ask me, I will tell you that I'm not. If you assume, then I'm just going to play along and make your day.
There you go. I got to tell you something. I'm going to tell you after your reel is done. By the way, I created this reel for you, and you own this after the show. Both of you guys.
Beautiful.
Dad, how are you? Dad is home. Oh, Lord.
I think I put one more clip in here of Sebastian. I thought it was just very cool to see Sebastian Bach.
He's here to represent the band Kiss.
He was a friend of mine from back in the Skid Row days, when I used to push their albums all over New Jersey. That's where they're from. They're Jersey boys. Let's take a look at Michael Santo.
Just tell me.
I love this, by the way.
What are you trying to say?
I'm not who you think I am.
What? 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 I don't believe you.
I have to set this up. And I'm not going to spill the bit, but this was fucking hilarious. Okay, this is Michael Santo being Michael Santo.
One of the best, you got the best, the hottest gene on planet Earth.
We hear and we obey. You wanted the best. Yeah, you got it. And you got the best. All right, we hear.
Okay, now just so you know, that's the real Paul Stanley. That's not Gil, and that is the fake Gene, not Gene. Okay, so there's Michael, there's Paul.
that.
great. That was great.
And just
was
a
a lot.
little side, I've been in that room that Paul was in.
Oh, really? That's at his house.
Correct.
Yeah, that's his part of his recording studio.
Exactly.
How the hell did you end up in Paul's recording studio? I got to hear the story here.
Actually, it wasn't too long ago, a few months back, that he had an estate sale.
Hmm.
And I happened to
Oh.
go. I went down there and I bought quite a few things.
Really? I have to ask you, what the hell was Paul selling off? I don't think he needs the money. But
Everything.
Everything. Everything.
really?
I'm talking about you basically imagine that you went to somebody's house and somebody that they're living there walked up and left.
Wow.
Buy whatever you want. That's really what happened.
Really?
That's really what happened. He sold.
Did he sell his house?
What it is that his house was scheduled to be torn down. He bought the property next door. He's tearing that down, and he was going to rebuild completely brand new.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
So everything from the fixtures to the floorboards to the roof, everything was for sale.
I got to ask you a question. The $1 million question. Did they leave behind any like guitars and stuff?
I believe there was a couple of smaller collectible items towards the beginning. By the time I found out about it, everything was pretty much gone.
Oh, man. If I could get a Paul Stanley played guitar, that would be worth spending some dollars on.
Sure.
Because I could turn around and flip that sucker for 4 times the amount of money.
Exactly.
Damn. Beautiful. Now, I got to go back to Michael here. Now, Michael, you play and you played with Paul on that. And so is that a song that you knew from previously, or is it something you were just jamming the night, or how did that video end up becoming to be? It's I think that's what they call like a Facebook duet. Is that
right?
Is
right.
that what they call them, right?
Right. I came across that on YouTube. So I decided
YouTube.
They had a few musicians who were doing it. So I figured let me try doing it with Paul.
Mm-hmm.
The song I've been playing that for years. Nothing new to me, but I love the song.
Yeah.
So I decided to do it, and I got some pretty good hits on it on YouTube.
Beautiful.
People enjoy it because
I tell you what, I enjoy when you play. You have a very you play a lot like Gene does, in that Gene is very laid back. He doesn't pound his bass like a lot of guys do. He's got a very laid back style because his fingers. He could do this like blindfolded. His fingers just go.
Well,
he's been doing it for 50 years.
People don't realize they put him in the underrated slot. You have to understand that Gene is a very good bass player. He doesn't need to go on there and perform like Flea does, because the makeup and the costume, his image is what brings it out.
Exactly.
It's the image.
Yeah.
So that's why in the beginning, he played a lot of various tunes, but he slowed down. He doesn't need to be doing the Flea thing, all that stuff. His image is what people freak out on and they love.
Absolutely. For people just joining us tonight, let me introduce these gentlemen to you with their spot-on dead ringer looks and over-the-top personas. Michael and Gil have taken their oddities and cashed in big on the KISS bandwagon. Tonight, we get a chance to get up close and personal with these two unmasked, high-ranking members of the KISS Army. Michael, call me Gene Simmons Santo, and Gil, I love to look like Paul Stanley Garcia. And so now, gentlemen, we're going to take a word from our sponsor. This is we love to do this because it makes me happy and makes Amelia happy, and it keeps us on the air.
Right.
Check a listen. Do you have sweaty balls or volleyball netty balls? It's time to make them ready balls. The Manscaped.com Lawnmower 3.0 will do the job and clean your knob with its patented no-nick head, so your head will function as desired. Enter promo code Wrestling Future for a generous 20% discount. That's enter Wrestling Future for a 20% discount. Manscaped.com and Wrestling with the Future, going balls to the walls with Manscaped.com and the Lawnmower 3.0. Your balls will thank you, and so will we. What's Buzz Podcast wants to welcome Radioactive FM 88.6 in Wellington, New Zealand, Radio Perth, Australia, and RTL Radio 102.5 in Milan, Italy. Welcome aboard, and welcome to the Buzz. I'll tell you what, every day gets a little better around here.
Yes.
It sure does. I am with Gil Garcia and Michael Santo. They are America's top, and I mean top when I tell you, top Kiss lookalikes. They are remarkable, up close and personal. And yes, Gil, talk to me, brother. I'm going to bring you up front and center. And let me ask you a little bit about what it's like to walk in the shadow of a guy that is a megastar. You get about this much percent of the adulation that he does, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're getting this much, which seems, when you look at these videos, seems to be you're getting quite a bit of attention. If you're getting that much, imagine what Paul is going through. Could you ever put yourself in his head and imagine what it's like to be him, to have like literally millions of people adore you?
I don't know if it's something I'd want to do, really. There's a lot of pressure involved, and
yeah,
I know there's a lot of scrutiny, and there's a lot of people that see him when he walks by and figure that he's being snooty, or you just don't know what he's. I don't know how how many people he's already run into, and how many things fine. So it can get pretty brutal, I imagine.
Well, give me and everybody, and I know guys that are tribute artists and who sing and perform, and I know people who are strict lookalikes. I happen to know one of the country's best Donald Trump impersonators, and this guy is frightening, but he's fucking hilarious. Okay. I also knew a guy that was a George Bush lookalike. That man literally, straight up legit, had to hire bodyguards, like not pretend bodyguards, like real bodyguards, because people wanted to kill him. So much, he looked so much like George Bush, he had to find another career to go into where his looks didn't become a distraction. Have your looks, Gil, become a distraction to you from time to time?
Not so much to me, maybe for my wife, probably, but for me, it doesn't. I've gotten
let's
used.
Talk about the wife for a minute here, and I'm not going to pry. I promise, Mrs. Garcia. Honest to God, I'm not going to pry into your life, ma'am. But I am going to ask your husband what it's like to live with you. So, so talk to me. Your wife must be a very solid, strong woman and very secure in herself, because you're a good-looking guy and you happen to look like a fucking megastar. So,
well, the thing is,
how does the missus deal with people maybe trying to hit on you, or as the kids say, get with you?
Well, luckily for her and unluckily for me, that doesn't happen. Most people are pretty respectful. And I don't go around looking like this 24/7. Most of the time, I might have my hair in a beanie and tied in a ponytail. I'm usually just wearing a t-shirt and jeans, and I look pretty normal mostly. Which is interesting because even though I am wearing a beanie and my hair is in a ponytail, I still get people that stop and ask me if if I am.
Yeah.
So
You got to realize though, too, Gil. I mean, like I said, you have that face. Paul has a really unique face, and there's not a whole lot of people that got Paul's face.
Right.
Like, for example, Michael looks like Gene. I've seen other people who look like Gene. None of them looking like Gene as much as Mike does. Right? Because Michael's got he's a fucking dead ringer. But I've seen other guys that they're pretty close, but I've never seen anybody look like Paul. So you can try to camouflage, and I'm sure you do. Sunglasses go a long way, a hat, a fake mustache,
Haven't tried that one yet.
Yeah, but it's got to be difficult to look like someone so much, and I'm going to give you a story about it. To look like someone so much that it impedes on your privacy. I like to, shoot me some advice. If there's a guy out there who looks like a famous person, what are the do's and don'ts? I'm going to bring you and Michael up here together. Let me bring you up here together, side by side. There you go. So both of you guys, okay? Whoever wants to go first. What are the do's and don'ts of looking like somebody famous? And what advice would you give to maybe some kid out there that looks like Elvis, or some girl that looks like, Katy Perry or somebody like that?
Well, first and foremost, it's about being respectful. You want to be respectful to whoever it is that you're, looking like, I guess. Unless, of course, you don't want to look like that person, then then you're. But if you're into it and you want to have fun with it, then everything is about respect and making sure that you're properly and you're not misleading people.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I try not to do. I try not to mislead anybody. Again, like I said, if you assume, that's on you, and I'm just gonna have fun. And if I make your day, great. If I don't, well,
Yeah. How about you, Michael? How do you approach it?
It's true what he's saying. That's one of the things Gene, when he sent me a message, he says he thanks me for not disrespecting him. That's one thing. If you're going to be a tribute artist, you have to do it seriously and an enjoyment for the people and for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't overdo it by disrespecting the character.
Yeah.
You really don't want to go there. That's not the way it's done.
I've noticed something very interesting, Michael, about the way you speak. I noticed that when you did the duet with Howie Mandel, that you sounded much more like Gene. As I'm listening to your natural speaking voice, you're reminding me of someone who I loved very much. My late friend, Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Oh.
Jimmy was a dear friend. Carol will tell you. He was a dear friend of mine, and he lived 5 minutes away from where I am right now. He was one of my neighbors. I live in Wrestlers Row here in New Jersey, because all these pro wrestlers used to live around here.
Right.
But you sound a lot like Jimmy Snuka. Are you able to translate that into your singing voice?
No, doesn't work.
Do you try to imitate when you sing? because I know you do sing.
Right.
Do you try to imitate Gene's vocal
I
pattern?
years ago I did. But I had stopped due to when I got involved in bodybuilding. I was a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So I had stopped, and I just do it now just for the likeness.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
And by the way, I heard you say you were into wrestling.
Yeah.
My
50
my
years,
dad,
brother.
my
50
father was related to Pedro Morales.
Oh my God, I loved Pedro.
Wow.
So I remember back in the
man.
70s when we went to his family's house in somewhere in New York City.
Mm-hmm. Pedro was an amazing, amazing wrestler and a role model as a champion. One of the greatest matches, I got to tell you. So we're talking about, Amelia and I swore off wrestling, but here I am. It's creeping back into my life again, right? We, well, Amelia, we'll never get away from wrestling.
No, we won't. It's a part of our blood.
The match of my lifetime. I saw 2 matches in my lifetime that were, well, I'll never ever forget. For my first wrestling match when I was 7, I saw Bruno Sammartino versus Killer Kowalski. That was my first match at 7. The match I remember the most was because the Pedro was wrestling Bruno, and they were both baby faces at the time. Which, in wrestling term, the baby face is a good guy.
Yep.
And you never have 2 good guys wrestle each other. But they wrestled each other at Shea Stadium. That was the night of the famous Muhammad Ali versus Antonio Inoki match that they had. And they bought out Shea Stadium for that. On that show was Andre the Giant making one of his debuts there. But that match between Bruno and Pedro was a classic because they went for almost an hour, these 2 guys, wrestling outside in a stadium for an hour. And at the end of the match, they did something that's unheard of in wrestling. They shook each other's hand. You don't ever see that in wrestling. Now, you turn around and the guy hits you with a chair or a baseball bat or a 2x4 or whatever the hell stupid shit they're doing now. I can't even watch it.
We don't even watch it anymore. So.
No, we don't even watch it.
No.
I'll tell you what I do like to watch. I like to watch Show and Tell
Yay, my
on
favorite.
What's the Buzz podcast because I got some show and tell from my boys over here. Take a look at this, guys. a scary fucking picture right there. Okay, that picture is freaky scary because you look like twins. That's frightening. Even the look on your face, Mike. Look at that. It's scary. Has Gene ever seen that?
Oh, I'm sure he has.
If he hasn't, I want to send him one. I want to send him this. I may send him a copy of this show. I don't know. Amelia, we'll do that. So we'll send
Oh
this
yes,
to Kiss.
absolutely.
There's Peter. That's scary.
I know,
Okay.
right? Wow.
Scary stuff.
I had to do a lot of double takes. I was like, what?
You really do have to
I
kind of
did.
do a double take on them. It's really it's amazing to talk to these guys. I tell you what, we're getting a
Oh,
little
yes.
insight into the world of the celebrity lookalike. Particularly rock stars. Rock stars are like a different breed of guys anyway.
Oh, yes.
If you don't believe that, just look at Mick. Okay, look at Mick Jagger. Look at Iggy Pop. If you can stand to look at Iggy.
Well, these guys
I
are
love
wonderful.
Iggy.
I just had a
it's-
question also for Gil Garcia.
Yeah,
too. I noticed that
ask
you
away.
had
Sure.
Go ahead.
a Hispanic accent. Do you speak Spanish fluently?
Yes, I do.
Me too. I know you probably couldn't tell because of my light complexion, but
Amelia?
I'm originally from Texas.
Listen to me, Amelia.
Yes.
Listen very carefully, young one. Oh, grasshopper, listen to the master here.
Yes.
Okay. One name is Garcia.
I
The
know.
other name is Santo.
Some people
okay.
don't speak Spanish.
I'm
just
sure
because-
they speak.
No, well, some people, you would be surprised, even though they have a Hispanic last name, they don't speak Spanish fluently. A lot of people.
Well, let me ask
these days.
Michael. Do you speak Spanish?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Well, I mean,
there you go.
some
See
people
that?
my generation
Yo
don't.
hablo español.
Mm-hmm.
Hablo mucho español.
Yo también. But a lot of people don't speak Spanish fluently, even with a Hispanic last name.
Well, I'll
these
tell you
days.
what. For our bilingual people out there, why don't you interview these two guys in the native language, and I'll sit back and have some coffee.
Yo sit back and have coffee. Okay. Okay. Michael, el cumpleaños de usted es en noviembre.
Noviembre 22.
Y el mío también.
Oh, really?
Sí, ajá. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, y usted, Gilbert, ¿verdad? ¿Es Gilbert
Sí.
García?
Ujú.
¿Y cuándo es el cumpleaños de usted?
Diciembre 26.
El 26, yo. Feliz cumpleaños.
I heard that it said December.
Yes, and guess what? Michael's birthday is my birthday. Same day.
Look, the only thing I understood was December. That was that was.
Oh, no, es que le estaba diciendo a él que mucha gente que tiene el surname de, he's been, de Garcia o Valerio es el mío, o Rodríguez, Ramírez o Santo, no mucha gente habla el español este tiempo.
Verdad. Hay
Ajá.
yo conozco mucha gente que son hispanos y no entiendes, no entiendo, no habla mucho en inglés.
Ajá, y yo como gente mío, que yo apenas yo completé con 51 años, y mucha gente que tiene 51 o más, como yo 55 o más, no hablan en español, o 40 y algo no hablan español, y tienen, y mi mamá ella nació en Texas, y mi papá también, y mis abuelitos también, y mucha gente también no habla en español.
Right, verdad.
Yeah, I was just telling them that a lot of people my age or younger than myself or older than myself don't speak Spanish, even if they have the same
I
last
got
name.
you.
Yeah, and
Right.
And I was just, you know, that me and Michael share the same birthday.
I didn't realize that. November
Yeah.
22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Amelia, tell everybody very quickly what we got coming up in the upcoming weeks, and then we'll say goodnight to these gentlemen.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
We are
actually,
pushing 8 o'clock. It's about 8 minutes to 8. So let's
absolutely.
wrap it up and say goodnight to these fellas.
Absolutely. Well, actually, next week on December 13th, we have a comedian by the name of Lindsay Glazer coming on.
Lindsay Glazer will be here. Yes.
Yes. And then also on December 15th, Thursday night, we will have Amityville House.
My favorite subject. We're going to talk about the Amityville House.
Yes. And we're going to have a special
we're going
guest,
to delve
Courtney.
deep into that one and maybe get a little creeped out for a little while.
Oh, gosh. I like that scary stuff coming up.
I'll tell you what. On behalf of Amelia Pitbull Chapman, I want to thank Gil Garcia.
Yes. Muchas gracias.
America's preeminent Paul Stanley star child lookalike. Paul, here we go again. Gil, why don't you tell everybody where they can reach you, how they can hire you, your social media, all that stuff, and then we'll go right over to Michael Santo.
Sure. I'm on Facebook as Gil Garcia. Pretty easy to find. Instagram as StarchildAZ _ Gil Garcia. Otherwise, you can reach me directly through my email, StarchildAZ@hotmail.
Excellent. And Michael, how about you? Where can people reach you?
They can reach me in Facebook. They can reach me on Facebook.
See what I look like?
TikTok and YouTube.
He's a fucking loon.
See what I have to do?
I'll tell you what. I want to bring you on. You know what, Amelia? We might do a special episode of Wrestling with the Future and bring Michael on and talk wrestling. Gil, are you a wrestling guy?
I'm a huge wrestling guy.
Are you?
Well,
really?
we'll just have to bring him back too. Then
I'm going to bring. Fuck it, I'm going to bring this back again for a wrestling show.
Yeah, I like his hat too. I like Gil's hat.
I have a shit ton of hats. I'm going to send you a couple. I want to send you some Wrestling with the Future T-shirts too. I'll get them. Yeah. You know what, Amelia? That's your get. If you get their information,
stick around after the show, guys. Don't.
Yeah. And then we'll send them some Wrestling with the Future T-shirts. So, Michael, they can reach you on Facebook. Do you have a website also?
Just Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube.
And YouTube, yes. And you can listen to Michael play his bass. And a hell of a cover bassist. He really is. I encourage everybody to check out these guys, support them. It's not only support the bands, but support the tribute artists of these bands. This is how they make their living.
Yes.
And I want everybody to just, reach in your pocket and spend some money. All right.
Yes.
And for Gil Garcia, for Michael Santo, for Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman, I'm the Mad Dog. Take care, everybody. Be kind to each other. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.